There. Awesome. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I guess morning still for some, but anyway, um, I think everybody's been hearing gold's just been in cruise mode. If you were listening to me, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I was even on a round table with a few of the guys, and we were trading right around 3,000 at the time. I said buy gold, and lo and behold, if it didn't go up 500 points. We got a pretty good pullback today, which is healthy. I was hoping it would really get to pulling back a little bit. I mean, it shot up literally in 2 weeks, 11.5%. So that's pretty substantial. And what's kind of crazy when you have something like that with a real big move, if you just kind of look at if this thing just retraced 50% of this move, basically it'd take it down to 3250. And even if it had a 10% move just based off the price of it up here, 3,500, that takes it down to 3,150, which basically is still pretty positive. So that's kind of a crazy thing when something moves as much as it has, but it needed a big correction today. Last night we went up to 3509 and basically 3510, and the started kind of selling things off throughout the European markets. It hit that high just before Europe opened up, and then they've been kind of pulling it down and pulling it down. Went down to about 3380. So really, 100 and no 30, 140 point move down. So if you look at gold right now, it's almost moving as much as the S&P is in a day. It's just kind of crazy. But I think it's still poised to move a whole lot higher. I mean, it hit 3,500. What the heck? And so now it probably needs to have a good little strong correction in it. And if it can kind of hang down here around 3,400, 3,350 in there somewhere, kind of consolidate a little bit, kind of like consolidated in here, it's consolidated in here, consolidated over in here. They can just have a little pullback and consolidate a little bit, then it can get enough room to kind of get pushing again. So I don't think we're over with the old gold run. A lot of people were, predicting this year gold was going to 3,500, and this year the gold was going to this. I'm still looking for 5,000 in the puppy dog. To be honest, that's 1,500 points from where we were this morning. And at its pace that it's been currently going, it probably won't take long to get there. But anyway. I mean, if he can move 500 points in 2 weeks, just think about that. They got to go 1,500 points. That takes about 6 weeks, and we're already there, right? Which it's not going to do that, I'm sure. So, but I don't see really anything to slow gold down at all. You got the dollar index below par value. If you don't know what par value is, the dollar index right now is below 100. At 100, basically, it's in line with all of the other currencies inside of that basket. If it's above 100, it's stronger than all the major world currencies. When it's below 100, it's weaker than all the world currencies. Just think of it that way. So they call that par value. And right now, we're below that. And so, as long as it stays below 100, the dollar's weaker, which Trump likes that. And which has actually made gold a whole lot stronger. So, I think it's going to continue to probably be that way. I don't see where it's going to be slowing down, but we're going to have a lot of corrections along the way. So, just beware of that. And one thing that's really nice about this pullback, I mean, we've been waiting for several weeks for, I got a program called the Perfect Gold Trade. Been waiting for it to, set up. But when you get a run like this, it's really hard for it to thing to set up. But with a pullback like we've seen today, it seems like it's setting up now, and hopefully we can get into a trade in the next couple of days. And if you're interested in that, you'll be hearing about that after this meeting if you want to hang around and kind of tune into that a little bit. I think you'll see what I'm talking about on how that thing works and everything like that if you're kind of interested. But another thing that we're kind of hearing also with all the tariffs and all this good stuff, um, basically Nvidia is going to have to start making chips in the United States. Of course, China doesn't like that, right? But I mean, basically they've made it kind of quote unquote illegal for them to sell chips to China. So all of a sudden, Nvidia has had going to take like a $550 million charge or something like that. NVDA. Even AMD's in kind of the same boat. Um, I mean, you have the what they call the H2O chip over at NVIDIA, and then I think AMD has what is it, an MI308 chip, which is basically the kind of the same thing. And they're not allowed to sell their chips over there unless they get this quote unquote new licensing to do so, whatever that licensing is. And so that's really hurt those companies. And I think Nvidia with it busting back below 100. Now granted, last year Nvidia was up 117%, right? Ta-da, there it is. And it's dropped about 16% from where we were on it earlier. So if it drops some more, it's not going to hurt that company all that much. Being up 171% in a year, now they're correcting back a little bit. Woo woo. But anyway, I think as long as Nvidia stays below $100, especially if it drops back below 95, I think it's probably a real good, put play to the short side. You can buy 95 puts if you want to, but I'd wait for it to get back below 95 to do that. If you're one to, sell premium, you can probably sell 105, 106. They have dollar wide spreads. You can do 105, 106. If you want to do a five wide spread, fine. But I think anything above 105, you can probably sell premium in the thing and probably just be fine and dandy. But that's the big thing. I think a lot of the market right now is in a little bit of a turmoil. The administration has changed out the IRS head, I think, 4 or 5 times so far. Can't seem to find the right person to get in there, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I'd hate to have the job anyway. It's probably the worst job to have in the United States is being head of the IRS. Everybody hates you, just period. Doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. They just hate you because you're head of the IRS, right? So nobody likes paying taxes or anything like that. But trying to find someone to get in there, who knows? Another thing is what the market doesn't like is uncertainty. When Trump comes out and says, "Let's get rid of Powell," well, now hold on, that's our Fed chairman, and so the market doesn't like that because they're kind of used to having Powell around, right? And so now if you start throwing him out, who are you going to get in next? And the market doesn't like that at all. We've had a pretty decent sell-off yesterday based off of that. They kind of ricocheted back up a little bit today because it's probably not all that bad. But as far as Powell's term, it actually ends March of next year. So if he leaves a year early, okay, whatever. If he waits till the end, I mean, next year, I think it's March of next year, he has to go away. And they're going to get a new one anyway. So it's six one way, half dozen the other, in my opinion. Um, but anyway, market doesn't like that, so it's going to jump around and jiggle around and blah 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 blah. Kind of what we've been seeing here really since the beginning of this month, and the market's been all over the place. The one thing in the S&P though, just to always 25. So here, there you go. That's the daily. Um, the big thing, I think, there we go, kind of open that up a little bit. And we've had this nice little sell off, little bounce up, and then they really started getting very volatile after the tariff thing started going on. This is when they came out on the second, and here they all are, the big rally days, down days, and everything. We opened up the month at 56.44 on the S&P. All right, just think about that real quick. We started out in April at 56.44. They haven't gotten back above that. So every time I see rallies in this market, until that happens, I'm very, very suspect of the rally. And so I like up days like today because I can go out and buy some more SPY puts and say, okay, die off tomorrow, and I'll get some money out of those. And that's one thing that I've been kind of watching for is can they get back above the month open? That's the starting line of this month. And every time we see these big rallies, everybody's saying, "Oh, we have this huge rally." I mean, I saw a thing from the Wall Street Journal this afternoon saying Dow's up 800 points. Well, woo woo. I've seen bigger point days than that. It's just, I mean, they always try to hype up something like that, and it doesn't last very long. And so, alrighty. No, they had an up day, but they had a down day yesterday. So, try to keep your brain out of the noise and everything like that, and just kind of keep things in perspective a little bit until they can get back above the month open. It's very, very suspect. I mean, time's starting to run out. We've only got 8 days left in this month, right? So we're here at 52.85. We opened up at 56.44. We got to go basically, I mean, 350 points up in the S&P, which is possible with an average range of around 240 points a day. Yeah, they can make it, but they haven't been able to yet. Even on a huge no rally that we saw over here on what day was that? The 9th of April. And they still have just kind of been waning off since then. So until they do that, I'm kind of suspect to the upside. In 8 days, we start a brand new month. Okay, fine. We start a brand new month. But I still would like to see them get back above that 56.44 because they hadn't done it yet. Ever since we broke it, they hadn't been back above it. So I don't think we're out of the water yet to the downside in the S&P until they can get some, gumption in them and get back above that 56.44 and start moving from there. Year open's way up there, above 6,000, so I'm not too worried about the year open yet. But if they can just get back above the month open, that'd be a really positive sign. I think you'll get some up move and start going from there. So that's kind of my line in the sand right now on the S&P. But that's the thing. I think gold's going to continue to move up. Corrections are healthy. And I'm glad to see, gold correct back, 100 points. I wish it'd go down another, 50, 40, 50, 60 points in it and then kind of consolidate a little bit and then take off. That would be nice. Just to give them some relief in that market before it goes kaboing once again. That's always good to have a couple, 3 days of consolidation and then turn back around and start, getting in cruise mode again. But past 2 weeks in gold has just been nuts. I mean, you sit there and go, well, maybe they've ended here, and then zing they go again, and zing they go again, and just like this thing just won't stop. But right now it's got a little correction back, so that's good. But kind of keep your eye on Nvidia, the chip guys, with all of the tariffs and the regulations that they're starting to throw out there. Might hurt them a little bit on the short term. I think longer term they'll probably be okay. And this week also, I mean, we weren't together last Tuesday, so it's been literally a week. I mean, we got 121 stocks in the S&P announcing this week. So it's going to be kind of a busy week as far as earnings. There's a ton of them. I think even Tesla comes out tonight. Um, and so we're going to have a lot of big companies announcing their stuff. A lot of the defense guys, Northrop Grumman's, Lockheed Martin's, Raytheon, Boeing, they're coming out this week. And right now they're not looking too healthy, which is another interesting thing. Boeing might be kind of hurting a little bit just because, well, China's like, canceling airplanes that they're buying from Boeing, and that might end up hurting them real bad. And so, kind of keep your eyes on those things just because on a shorter term basis, it might be bad, but all of a sudden, all they have to do is sign another executive order and kaboing, everything goes back. So just beware of that. So if you have any questions, let me know. Um, Otherwise, we'll see how Tesla comes out tonight and see what the other earnings do and come back in Thursday and see if gold's consolidated enough to just jump in and buy the thing. To-do, to-do, to-do. Alrighty. Well, I do thank you all for tuning in. Like I said, if you do have any questions, feel free to let me know. And if you think of something over the next couple of days when we come in here on Thursday, same thing. Um, you know, bring in your questions. That's cool. My thoughts on natural gas. We're in a transition time right now on natural gas. We're getting out of the winter. We're coming into summer. It should correct back a little bit and slow down right now. Another thing that you have is seasonally, and I'll put it that way, seasonally. We should see gasoline and crude oil having kind of a little move up, which we've seen that. I mean, we're not down at $55 on crude. We're up here at $63, right? But seasonally, it should be kind of pushing up a little bit for the next month or two. Not to say it's going to have a huge rally. It's just seasonally it has a tendency to bump higher. And the reason for that on the gasoline and crude oil side is you got to switch from winter gases into summer gases, and they're going to start doing a little maintenance and everything like that. So we get kind of a slowdown in production. With that slowdown in production, we have less supply. Less supply, you have more demand because you have the driving seasons. We're just not ending the spring break part of it. Here, literally in 1 month, colleges are getting out, and we're going to be, getting into the driving season and all that good stuff. So you're going to put a huge demand on that. So you'll probably see those bump up a little bit. Natural gas right now, we're in the pretty time of year. We're in spring where we have some warm days, some cool nights. We'll have some cool days every now and then with these little fronts coming through and everything like that. So we're in kind of a transition right now. Natural gas probably will start perking back up coming into the end of May, probably into June, when people are going to start demanding air conditioners. We're going to have to start turning on the natural gas turbines to generate more power and start going from there. So it wouldn't surprise we don't see a little consolidation in natural gas right in here before it starts getting a big demand on it once again. So um, the SMRs, kind of interesting, David, you bring that up. The DIU, the Department of, I don't know, it's part of the Department of Defense, just put out a list of 8 companies that they're going to be using for SMRs. Those are small nuclear reactors, SMR. Uh, but small modular reactor, maybe I should put it that way, for different bases and stuff like that around the United States. And so I only found a couple of those, that OKLO and BWXT. I think I put that was a week ago when we put those in here. But those two are the ones that are being publicly traded that we found. There was another one somebody put in here. I forgot to write it down. But those are probably, those are 2 of the 8 companies. Not to say other ones won't benefit, but there it is. Yeah, NEE. Thank you very much. That was the other one. I appreciate that. Um, but yes, I mean that is the big thing. You have shares in Nvidia. Now hold on. I'm not telling you to dump the shares. You're up 117% if you bought it last year, okay? Or 170%. With a little 16% correction, there's no big deal with that. All right. So I think Nvidia is still a good company. I'm just saying on the shorter term with all this stuff going on, you might do some protective puts on that. Um, and you might sit there and say, well, instead of me getting out of my shares, I can buy puts to offset my losses. So if it busts below 95, I'd probably buy some puts to offset losses on the stock. That way you net zero, right? As opposed to taking a hit on the stock itself. But those are called married puts. You can buy a stock and marry a put to it to protect it to the downside. It's kind of like insurance, if you will. But I'm not saying, sell the thing, but you might buy puts to protect it if it does bust below 95. So just keep that in mind. So again, if you all want to hear about, the perfect gold trade and stuff like that, tune in. They'll be, playing that right after I leave here today. And again, it was great to see you all, and I'll see you on Thursday.